In today's OpenGL demo, I'm showing off how to make Breakout, and this is the first half. So as you can see here, we have a scene here, and we have Breakout, and this is one of the levels, so I can push 1, 2, 3, or 4 to switch through the levels as just a debugging mode. So this is level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3, and this is level 4. And then we can use A or D on the keyboard to move around the paddle on the bottom. So to show off how this works, we have most of our code. This is just basic creating a window and stuff. Most of our code is in our game.h and our game.cpp file. And we have a state, which is either active, menu, or win. We don't really use this as of right now. We just set it to active, and that lets us play. We have a big array of keys, which is telling us whether we're pressing down each key or not. And we get this from a key skull function I have here that's from get set key callback, and this just says if we're pressing down the key, set it to true, otherwise set it to false. Then we have a width and a height, which is screen width and screen height. Then we have a vector of levels and a level, like which current level we're on, as a unsigned int. And then in here we take in a renderer, which is this, I'll explain in a second. Player size, player velocity, this is just like sort of the settings. Then we initialize the game, so we load our shader, we load this sprite shader, which is what we're calling it, with image, which is GL texture 0, and then a projection, which is this here. Then we create a new renderer, we import these 3 textures, block, block solid, background. And then down here we import paddle texture, we set the player position and create a player object, and then we load the 4 levels. Then here, this is all the input stuff, so if we hold down A, we move to the left, hold down D, we move to the right, and then this switches us between the 4 levels. And then in our render, which happens every frame, because it's in our render loop here, render right there, we draw the background, then we draw the level, then we draw the player. So let's explain the renderer first. So this takes in a shader, and then we have a texture, position, a size, a rotation, and a color. And then in here, we just have a function that activates the shader, sets them up a model, and scales it based on size, rotates it, translates it, and then sets model and sprite color, and then draws it. So it's fairly simple. So that's the sprite renderer class. This is our shader for the sprites. It just takes in a projection and a model, takes in a texture and a sprite color, and multiplies the 2 and renders it. Then we have our game level class, which has an array of game objects called bricks. And in here we have a load function, which takes in one of these 4 txt files we have and turns it into a level. So this is the one that starts with the breakout, and then this one is, this is 1, so this is that one. And it's basically what that function does is so right now we set up an if stream, and then we iterate through every number in this big txt file, and we push it all back into a tile code, and then we pass that into our initialize as a vector. And here we calculate the screen's height and width, and then we get a unit width and a unit height from that. And then in here, if the tile data is set to 1, we draw a solid block, which is these right here. Otherwise, we draw a colored block. And if it's 0, we don't draw anything. Then the last thing we should show off is this. Over here we have a bricks. So that is a game object, and the game objects take in a position, a size, a velocity, a color, a rotation, and then is solid and destroyed, and this is for the bricks. So if it's solid, it means it can't be destroyed, and the destroyed is whether it'll render on the screen or not. And that is how we set up our very basic breakout game. This is not a complete game. I'll upload part 2 next week, adding the ball and collisions in. But if you want to see some cool debugging tools or how to render text to the screen in OpenGL, you should click on this video here. And until next time, see ya.